Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dustin and Eric podcast show brought to you by Mimosa Networks. Hi, I'm Dustin.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're on episode number 17. We're going to go through, let's say, top 10 things troubleshooting-wise we get from Mimosa Chat. So, Eric, you've got a whole notebook over there of things that you've got from customer chats. I've got plenty of things in my head here that are from customer chats. So I'll go ahead and start with number 10. How can I unlock my radio to a licensed version of the country I'm in? So I bet you've gotten this chat quite a few times, haven't you?
Oh.
A lot? Not
yes.
a lot?
I'm in Iraq, and I'd like to unlock my 5 gig radio.
So pretty much this all has to do with our cloud account. You have to go into your cloud account, go to options, which is in the top right-hand corner of the screen where your initials are.
Yep.
Go to settings, and then you can add a new country. So you would select that option. You would choose licensed mode for that particular country that you're in, and you have to put in your address, your phone number, and everything like that. Once you go to the unlock page, you then have to verify that you're in that country with your cell phone number. So it's the same thing as you're doing if you unlock to the regular country for the first time. You have to verify that you're actually in that country.
So you enter in that SMS number, and then it's...
Here's a verification number. You type that in, you're good to go. Most countries, if you unlock in license mode, will enable extra frequencies for you. There are certain countries where they're extremely restrictive, just like the U.S. and the UK. Putting it in license mode will not grant you extra spectrum to use. So this is for more of those guys in the Middle East and in the South and Central America that have not as strict spectrum laws than what we might have. So, Eric, what's number 9 on your list?
I was going to ask, can I operate in the bottom part down in the public service area, 10 gig, 2x20 channel?
You mean 4.9?
Yeah.
You said 10 gig.
Oh, what did I say?
10 gig is what you said. So, Mimosa radios are usable in the 4.9 safety band.
2x20, but in the United States, FCC regs, you cannot use a single 40 meg channel. Is that right?
Right.
Your
20 megahertz channels.
Yeah, you have the capability of 2x20, but down there at the bottom part of just under 5 gig, you can't do a single 40.
Right.
That's not really in the troubleshooting, but that's something that's come up a few times lately.
Well, no, it's something worth talking about. So what's your next one? What's number 8?
How about this? I've got one. How do I get a radio into recovery mode?
Well, how do you get a radio into recovery mode?
Well, one way is you just power up the radio, but make sure it doesn't have you're not plugged into LAN on your laptop.
So which radios?
You might have to reboot.
Which radios?
Actually, the A series will do that. The B series, with the exception of the light.
Right.
You can't get a B5 light into recovery. I can do B5C, go B5, B11, and then anything with say a 2.4 on it, right?
Right.
2.4 Wi-Fi management broadcast on there. So then what do? You look for get on your smartphone device, or you get on your laptop, go to IDs, and look for the word Mimosa with a capital R, and I think the last 3 digits of the serial number.
I didn't know Mimosa had an R in it.
No, that's R for recovery.
MIMOSA.
Capital R. Isn't there a capital R? Isn't it Mimosa, cap R, and then like 1,
there
2, 3?
Is, but the way you said it, it sounded like there's an R in Mimosa.
Oh. That's why we help each other here out.
SRO. Yeah. So Mimosa R and then the last 3 of the serial number.
Perfect. Yeah. That's only going to stay up for what, 4 minutes? About. I think we see it. I see it
4 to 5 minutes at most.
And then it goes away. And I think you can. What I've done is to reset that, or you need it back again. Just do a reboot in the same fashion.
Right.
Don't have the LAN plugged in.
Right.
There, and it'll take you through the steps. You'll get into the.
Okay, so number 7 Is this number 7? Are you guys
I
keeping
don't
track?
know. It's been such a long time since 10.
Yeah. So this is number 7.
Okay.
So let's say I have somebody come in the chat and they say, oh, my signal levels are extremely low. I'm only 10 miles away from the tower. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that could be, but the most
Sure.
common thing is that people only look at spectrum on one end of the link. They're not looking at the spectrum on both ends of the link. So the cool thing about the Mimosa radios is that if you log into the AP or the station, go to channel and power, you can hit the combined button in the top right-hand corner of the screen that shows you the spectrum graph from both radios.
Right.
So then you can actually choose a clean channel for both radios and not just for one or the other.
And if they're linked up, in other words, you can look at, if you're in the AP side or the station side, you can just click on remote or click on local as well, or combine.
So combined is definitely the most important view on the spectrum analyzer graph, which I actually have a picture right here. So
Awesome.
if you're watching at home, up in the top right there, you have combined. If you're linked up, that won't be grayed out, so you can pull it up and look at the graph for both radios.
Oh, I see. Yep.
So for this particular radio, you would choose something down at 4.9 or 6.3. You know, it's pretty messy there. Or on this particular radio, it's got combined checked, so you can see you have open spectrum in the 10.9 500 range and the 11 500 range.
So they're running a 2x80, and we could look at the bottom half of this 11 gig band too, and then see if we can fit somewhere that 80 meg width and then that second 80 meg channel width as well.
Right. And this even this applies not just to backhaul radios, but also to access and client radios as well. So on the access point, you have the local view and the combined view. Local view is the AP. Combined is all of your clients together. So you can kind of see if there's some kind of interference at certain locations. This isn't as useful for me in my case because I like looking at the clients individually. And if you have 20 clients and you hit combined, you won't know which client is which. So that's where the cloud comes into play. And you can look at those individually, or you can log into them and look at them.
Another thing is maybe the wind has blown one side of the link out. The antenna alignment needs a checkup.
Right.
That's often the case too.
So a number 6 is it's similar to what we just talked about. Help me tune my link. Well, again, that goes back to what we just talked about. You want to log into your radios. You want to look at your spectrum graph, not just one radio, but on both. And start with a small channel width. Start with 20 megahertz. And at least get the radios associated if they're not. And then you can play around and see if you can find a clean channel. If it's, if it looks like something like this, it's going to be hard to do anyway. Also, things that will help you tune your link are increasing your dish size or changing your sector antennas if you're doing point-to-multipoint to something with better noise reduction or side lobe rejection like the RF horns or the Mimosa N545 antennas. So yeah, RF tuning is something that is really difficult for people, and there's a lot of different things that you can do. Alignment is another part of RF tuning. A lot of people align to the side lobe instead of to the main lobe. So you have to actually go through the alignment, which we have a video on how to actually go through alignment. So
I think something else, on that line is let the link stabilize. If you're on the AP side and you're aiming your antenna, re-aiming,
right,
give it a minute. Do some azimuth. Hang tight for a second. Hang for 30 seconds at least, maybe a minute. Let it stabilize, and then do the elevation and wait. Let that stabilize.
All right.
And then make another move. And then if there's somebody on the other end of the link, communicate that to them, what you're doing, so that way they're not touching their side. And then you flip-flop. Then now they work their side, and you hang tight.
All right. So number 5,
thank you.
Another common thing is I just bought this radio from a third party. I bought it from a friend. I bought it off of eBay. I bought it off of Amazon. And it's already unlocked. So how can I unlock this radio? Well, the best thing for you to do is to come into the Mimosa chat, like a lot of you guys do. Give us the serial number or serial numbers for the radios.
Yeah.
And some kind of proof of purchase would be great. So if you have some kind of handwritten note from your friend, that's probably not the best way to do it. But a receipt of some kind would work. A transaction from eBay or from Amazon showing that you actually purchased these radios through that service. Then we can go through and unlock these radios for you so you can unlock them to your cloud profile. And then you can unlock these radios with your own unlock key, log in, configure them, and set them up.
Suppose someone comes into chat and they're in the same company as the radio is assigned to someone else in their company or their division. That's the same. It's the same way. You can get in there and change ownership of that radio per serial number,
Right.
and move that over to your account.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go in and we'll verify that email, or we'll connect the dots, make sure that email belongs to someone within that person's company. Yeah, make sure that's lined up on the cloud. Hey, I might even have. It's off the top too. Might
All
even
right.
have number 5, 6.
Number 4.
Number 4. How about my radio? I'm losing one of the streams on the radio, or it's not there, but sometimes it comes in. In fact, I had one guy was maybe a kilometer between two buildings, and we went on actually called him up on the phone because they went through all the tools, they looked at the spectrum a bit, they made sure the firmware was aligned on both sides of the link, and then we got on the phone. And then, so what they had was like a non-penetrating roof mount, so a little mast thing, 5-6 feet in the air, but it was not on the edge of the roof. I eventually found that it was backed up on the roof, like 60 feet in towards the center of a business park, and so they had some some Fresnel blockage or something, and then so they came back in and they said they moved it towards the roof. And that corrected that right there. I guess they were probably doing a good chunk of Fresnel. They were probably over, 30-40% blockage in the bottom part of that zone, Fresnel zone.
Right.
And that brought all the chains back.
Well, that brings us to number 3.
Gosh.
I installed a new client radio on my customer's roof, and I can't get connected to the tower. Well,
credentials.
It would be good to have photos of the installation because in this particular case I'm talking about,
Yeah.
the installers didn't know that this was supposed to be line of sight.
Oh.
So they installed it on a rooftop where it's shooting through a whole group of pine trees.
Okay.
And wondering why it's not working. So basically number 3 is make sure you install your radios, your 5 gigahertz, your 10, 11 gigahertz, your 24 gigahertz radios with line of sight.
Yeah, I mean, we, as an experiment and for permanent in our test networks, some of these will work through certain foliage, a certain amount of trees, and then are they deciduous trees? Do they lose their leaves during the fall, or do they have leaves year round? And so on. So we burned some holes through some pretty thick trees
Right.
at shorter distances. And it seems a little more forgiving on 5 gig than 10, obviously, and so that's something to look at. And you'll see performance drop off if you have a chance to aim a link here on this part of, say, a rooftop, and then or put the platform over here on the other side of the rooftop that's going through trees. You can and it's a temporary setup, maybe on some tripods, to check it out and go through that tree there. Or off the side, skirt the tree off the side, or bring it back over here and go get line of sight to the other spot, and see what the performance does. See how it plays.
All right, Eric. So number 2, I have a C5C. I have a B5C radio. One chain is at neg 60. The other chain's at neg 90. What could my problem be?
Yeah, that could be obstruction on one side or close proximity. near field obstruction.
So my horizontal polarization's at -60.
Oh,
My vertical
what kind of
polarization's at
what
-90.
what kind of radio? Coax. What kind of radio did you say it was?
Either B5C or C5C.
Yeah. Look at one thing is to look at the coax jumpers. They should be the same. They should be a short length, and make note of the chain that's at poor performance, and then swap the coax jumpers, and see if that problem follows.
Right.
That's one thing. Any other?
Just
Fresnel will do it.
it will, yeah.
Should be consistent.
But it would be more likely, water in the coax or
Yeah.
either one of the polarizations on the radio might have gone bad. So, or somebody built a building up in front of your radio and it's affecting you. But you would think that it would be a coax issue of some kind or a polarization issue of some kind at that point.
Not much of an issue on feed horn type like B11. If you take the B11 radio and you sandwich it right on to the waveguide right onto the antenna, you're kind of done, right?
Right. So
Because
for
of the standoffs, but
for signal mismatches on like B11, then
connectorized radios.
that would definitely be more of a Fresnel zone type issue at that point. And you can definitely tell that if both horizontals or both verticals are off. And those are even with each other, and then the horizontals are pretty even with each other. We had a B11 link like that where our vertical was about 15 dB lower than our horizontal. We were hitting a tree out in the midfield, which we didn't know about until we did a lot of experimentation on it. So,
and we had the binoculars and compass out and everything, and you could see that. We're thinking Los Gatos out in just a monster pine tree out there.
Right.
What was the link like? Not 8. That's the other way. 12.4 miles. 14. Yeah, and there's a monster pine tree out there.
Right. So
Okay.
I don't think that you have any more. So my number one would be we had a customer come in saying that they're having real low signal levels on one of their client radios. I actually went and visited this site, and the issue was they were connecting to the SSID on the other side of the tower. So make sure that you have good documentation on your network and that your installers know which access point they're actually trying to connect to. That means giving them appropriate training on, doing site surveys in the radio or doing a SSID scan to try and pick the correct SSID with the best signal strength.
Because that's a common thing. Well, folks will come in and we'll talk about scan for ID, and I'll ask them, so what do you see when you scan for ID? And they'll say, I see out there in the field, I see 5 gig devices, 4 or 5 gig devices or whatnot. Sometimes they have 18, and so you get the right one. There's also an AGC threshold, so they might see the target. They might see the access point ID, but it's at -83 or 81 or whatever the magic cutoff is, and it's not going to link. It's not going to handshake. They see it and they scan it. There it is again. Scan, rescan. It stays there, but the signal is down here. All right.
All right. So before we go, Eric, what is the biggest rookie mistake that you think you've made?
Boy, that sounds like a good one. Trying to latch onto the wrong ID. No, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what I think my biggest rookie mistake is.
You could probably tell me what mine is too.
And I still make this mistake sometimes. Is instead of doing 192.168.1.10 for the AP, I still try to do .20 and wonder why I can't get into the radio.
Right.
I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? But then I'm like, this is an A5, so it's 1.10 for the default IP.
That's a good point. I do the same thing.
But all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or any ideas for any shows that you might like to see, please hit us up at podcast@mimosa.co, or you can certainly reach me via Facebook for those of you who talk to me there, or comment on the YouTube video. So we'll see you on the next episode of the Dustin and Eric podcast show. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe or follow button to stay up to date with our latest podcast, which will be available on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud.